With me today, I have a brand new 2020 Honda Odyssey. Now for this model year, Honda pretty much kept things the same. They did make a few minor tweaks to make this even better. Last year, however, when I tested the 2019 model, I found a huge flaw that no one was talking about. But thankfully, Honda listened and decided to fix that flaw, and it no longer exists on this 2020 model year. So in this review video, I'm going to tell you everything there is to know about this brand new Odyssey so you could decide if it is the right minivan for you. Stay tuned. First, I want to give big thanks to Honda of Laos, which made this video possible. So if you're in the market for a brand new or used Honda, make sure you check them out. Their URL is in the description below. Starting with the outside, the front end to the Odyssey looks modern and resembles the SUVs from Honda's lineup. There's a huge chrome grille in the middle that spreads above the headlights. The lower bumper is sporty in design, and there are some black grille pieces toward the bottom and on each side. With the Touring and Elite models, both the headlights and fog lights are LED. Other trims received a halogen treatment. Now, the side to the Odyssey looks like a minivan, although Honda did a good job to dress it up. There are some nice curves to the windows and body panels, and there's good contrast between the black, white, and chrome. The lower window trim and door handles are chrome. The base LX trim gets black handles instead. The wheels on this Elite Edition are 19-inch, and they have great looking black inserts. The other trims get 18-inch alloy wheels with different patterns depending on the trim. And let's not forget the most important feature to this Odyssey, power sliding doors. They are standard on all trims except the base. Now the back end to the Odyssey is square and wide. Honda did their best at making the rear end look more like an SUV than a minivan. The roof slopes down and there is an integrated spoiler. There's a large privacy glass and a chrome bar in the middle. All trims receive LED light bar taillights. Now this Elite Edition does come with a power tailgate, and one major flaw that I mentioned at the beginning of this video is fixed. Take a look at this 2019 one that I reviewed last year, where the tailgate would not stop when I was underneath. That was a major flaw, but take a look at it now. That flaw has been fixed in the 2020 model. The engine is a 3.5-liter V6 pushing 280 horsepower and 262 pound-feet of torque. What's new for the 2020 model year is that all trims now receive a 10-speed automatic, and previously that was only reserved for the higher trims. Now moving on to the trunk, the Odyssey has a massive trunk even with the third row up. On the right, you have a 12V outlet and a cubby hole for things. On the left, you have Honda Vac, which is a built-in vacuum for your Odyssey. This is really convenient, but it is only available on the Touring and Elite trims. As for the magic third row seats, folding them down couldn't be easier. Simply pull on the strap and pull the seats down and they fold flat. There's no power functions that's needed. This is really simple and elegant design, and to get them back up is just as easy. Now the second row to this Elite is full of leather, and you do get 3 seats that can be adjusted separately. The middle one can be removed, so you'll be left with a set of captain chairs. As for adjustments, the bottom handle allows you to slide the seats sideways only if the middle seat is removed though. The front lever allows you to remove the seat completely. The middle one is for reclining the back, and finally the back lever allows the seat to slide forward for third row access. Now, in terms of the third row, there's plenty of room and it is actually very comfortable. I have a few inches of legroom left and probably a foot of headroom. The third row is plenty wide too, so 2 adults or 3 kids will not be a problem. On this Elite Edition, with each side, you get a 12V outlet, aux port for headphones, volume knob, a vent, 2 cup holders, and a sunshade. To get out, simply pull on the tab toward the bottom and push the seat forward. Now, as for the second row, you get an enormous amount of space. I'm 5 feet 10 and I have at least 10 inches of leg room left, and the same with headroom. The seats also slide forward and backward, and the same goes for the back. As for amenities, each side has a vent and power buttons for the doors. You also have a total of 7 cup holders if you fold the middle seat down. And you do get a HDMI port for the rear entertainment screen and to a USB port. And let's not forget, you get sunshades in the second row as well. On top, you get a 10.2-inch rear entertainment system that can play Blu-ray movies and other apps. More on that later. Next, let me show you the front cabin and what you'll find in the driver's seat. Alright, I'm behind the steering wheel, so let me show you the cabin and some of the features you'll find in this brand new Odyssey. Starting with the steering wheel, very familiar. It's the same one being used in the Pilot, Ridgeline, and several other Honda models, and that's okay. I like the steering wheel. It's a good modern design. I would prefer if the 10 and 2 spot was a little bit thicker. It is not, but overall the thickness is okay. The leather feel actually feels pretty good. So I'll let you guys know how the steering wheel is and the steering feel is once I start driving. Now, as for the buttons, starting over here, this is to control the adaptive cruise control, which is part of Honda's sensing. You do have lane keep assist over here, heated steering wheel, which is really nice in the winter months. And then main is to just kind of shut off or turn on some of the safety features, as you can see. ACC adaptive cruise control, LKS, lane keep assist system. Basically, it turns those on or off. Now over here, you have some phone controls down here. And this is to control everything in the gauge cluster. So this is the home menu, and then this is how you go up and down. And then you do have some volume controls here and to scroll through your stations. But next, let me show you that big gauge cluster and the screen in the middle. So as you can see, the left and right side, very futuristic overall, but this is very much the same gauge cluster you'll find in the other Hondas as well, such as the Honda Pilot. But you can see it's very futuristic. It has this blue glow that goes all around, right? And temperature and fuel, those are analog, but inside, very big screen. You can see the tach on this top, and then your digital speedometer, and then you can scroll utilizing these. You can scroll up and down, and you can see there's a lot of things you can select. You can show or hide your apps, trip computer, your phone, navigation, what's playing, maintenance, settings. I found this to be interesting. If you go into settings, you could actually turn off your tachometer, which I've never seen in any other car. I mean, the tachometer is always shown in every car, but I guess in an Odyssey, you might not care how high you rev to, so that is an option you could turn on or off. So I thought that was pretty interesting, but of course all the other things are pretty standard. But I do like how you can hide certain things, like if you don't want to see trip computer or phone, you could turn those on or off, and it's just really up to you. Now moving on to the side, you got a whole bunch of buttons over here. This is of course the power sliding doors left and right. Now if you don't want the power option, you just want to do it manually, you can turn it off like so. The doors will still work, it's just the power functions are turned off. Power tailgate, this is again the lane keep assist. This is the parking sensors on or off, traction control, and this is for collision, the pre-collision mitigation. The auto braking, basically if you want to turn that on or off. Electronic brake over here, brake hold over there. You do have memory seats, and this is pretty standard. You have window and mirror controls, although on this Elite Edition, you can press this and fold your mirrors back. So if you're parking in tight parking spots, you're afraid someone's going to hit your mirrors, that's a pretty cool option to have. Now, moving on to the infotainment, I like this setup a lot. It is a very large touchscreen, and as you can see, the interface is bright, it's colorful. You can't really mistake it, so I like it a lot. And plus, take a look, very, very responsive, no lag whatsoever, right? And the basics are here. And what do I mean by that? Well, Android Auto, Apple CarPlay, which is very popular, they are standard, no problems with that. And also, volume knob is here as well. So the basics are here. And there are some navigation buttons like home, back, that are also on the side. So in case you get lost, it's pretty easy to navigate back. And as you can see, the categories, pretty easy to understand as well. Navigation, phone, rear entertainment. So although this is shared across some of Honda's lineups, there are some exclusive things in here just for the Odyssey. For example, the rear entertainment. Now this controls that large screen I showed you guys in the back. Not only can you play Blu-ray disc, Blu-ray movies over here, But you can also plug in HDMI, so if you had a Switch or something that your kids are using, they could plug in. And of course, you got Spotify, How Much Further app, which is very popular among the kids, your media server, iHeartRadio. So there's a few things that you could show up there. Now, if you go back, there's also things in here that's exclusive, such as Cabin Watch and Cabin Talk. Now, Cabin Watch is where you can actually see what's going on in the second row and third row. So in case your kids are doing something, they're eating candy, or they're doing something they're not supposed to, you could see exactly what they're doing. And also, if you want to talk to them, you hit Cabin Talk. This is where you could talk to them through the speakers or through their headphones. So even if they're plugged in, they're listening to, I don't know, whatever they're listening to, you can still talk to them. So that's pretty cool. And of course, this also has a whole bunch of other apps. If you click all apps, so take a look. You have AT&T Hotspot too, so Wi-Fi is in here. And there's a whole bunch of things that you can turn on or off and kind of have it displayed as favorites on your home screen. So I like this. Overall, I really enjoy this infotainment screen. I think this is a really good setup. Now moving on, this is for climate control, and this is all physical buttons, although you can control some things from the touchscreen. I do like this is physical, so it's easy to understand. And then also you can control front and rear, right? So same buttons for the front and rear. I like that setup as well. So right now I'm going to turn it on. So I'm going to go to front. So right now you can see this changes, right? You can have fan control up here, and you can control the modes, right? But you can also control your fans over here and some of the modes up here as well. Of course, you got auto, on, off. So the standard stuff, syncing, right? It's a tri-zone setup. And then if you want to control the rear, you hit that. And again, you can control things like auto, fan control, and where things are blowing. So I like this setup. Pretty easy to understand. And I do like how it's kind of a mixed combination. But overall, I like the fact that there are physical buttons for it. And I do like how the temperature control, right, on both sides, physical buttons, so it's pretty easy to change if you wanted to. Now moving down here, it looks a bit confusing, right? I gotta admit that, but let me show you what they are. This is for heated seats, both sides. You have heated seats and cool seats, ventilated seats, 3 levels, like so. Now, engine auto start stop over here. This is standard across all the trim levels. I normally do not like this. I turn it off, but you can leave it on. Snow mode, economy mode. Now this is hazard light. And then you have this. This is the new style shifter that I'm not really a fan of, but I am getting used to it. But even though I'm used to it, I'm still not a fan of it. So this is park. Now to reverse, you press this button. To go neutral, you press that. To drive, press that, and if you want to go in sport mode and manually shift, which you can, you press it one more time. And then the gauge cluster will say S instead of D, right? And you do get paddle shifters here, which is just really silly, but that's how the new style button shifter works. It does take getting used to. Sometimes in an emergency situation or in a rush, you might fumble around a little bit, so I would have preferred just something, you know, just a normal shifter, but I could see how a normal shifter over here would take up a lot of space. But it is something you got to get used to. Now moving on, you have the Blu-ray player. And down here you have a regular household outlet. And you have a 12V outlet. Those are nice. And then you just have a whole bunch of space over here for whatever you want to put. 2 cup holders. Wireless charging pad. This is nice. And then you got the center console here, which opens up, and you can see 2 more USB ports. One of them for media connection, but you can use it to charge, and an aux port. And then you just have a whole bunch of space over here. Now moving up here, you do have some home link buttons over here. You got Honda Assist and Link for information and emergency situation, and this is to control the sunroof. Unfortunately, it's not a panoramic one, and there are no panoramic option, and that's because the entertainment is over here. But it would be nice if Honda stuck another sunroof back there in the 3rd row, but they decided not to do that. So you do have just a regular sunroof up here. All right, let's go for a drive and see how this brand new Odyssey is on the roads. Now, in terms of the driving position, I will say that the driving height is probably about the same as a CR-V. If you compare it to something like a Honda Pilot, you're sitting a lot higher. You have a much more commanding view. In this Odyssey, you're sitting lower, but of course, you'll notice that you are higher than a sedan. You are still sitting above, just not as high. But those of you guys that are on the lower side or you prefer a lower seating position, you'll definitely like it much better in this Odyssey. Now, another thing that's really impressing me is how quiet it is in here. Even though this Elite has these 19-inch wheels, right? The sidewall's a little bit narrower. It's very quiet in here. Now, all the Hondas recently that I can remember have been pretty quiet. So it's no different in this Odyssey. So I'll let you guys know how it changes once I get up to speed. But right now, with the radio off and climate control off, it is very, very quiet in here. Very, very quiet. And that's not a bad thing, especially if you want to talk to people in the third row, which is actually really, really far back there. Also, what I'm impressed with is this ride quality. With this long wheelbase, with the suspension setup in here, this Odyssey is soaking up these bumps very, very nicely. Yet, I do feel like the suspension isn't too soft. It is still, it still can handle these curves okay. Of course, you're still going to get a lot of body roll, but overall, I do feel like I like the feel of this Odyssey around these curves and bends. I don't feel like there's too much body roll and I'm just like flying around. I do feel like it's somewhat controlled. So I like the suspension in here a lot. Provides a smooth ride, yet a controlled ride. Now, of course, because this is a minivan, you get enormous amount of space. Enormous amount of space. I showed you guys in the third row, even with the second row all the way to the back, even for me, I have plenty of space and I feel very comfortable back there. It's not like it's just okay for short trips. I can honestly probably sit back there for a few hours and still be okay with it because it just feels like the second row in a lot of other SUVs. And the second row is very comfortable. I mean, this minivan definitely utilizes every inch it gets in the cabin, and that's a great thing. Now up here, when you're driving it, I don't really feel the length. I feel the width though. Those of you guys that have driven large 3-row crossovers or trucks, then this is normal for you because this Odyssey is quite wide. If you're used to smaller vehicles, then you do have to get used to it, but man, you just get so much space in this Odyssey. Now, if you guys are concerned about safety, that's not a concern in this Odyssey. You do get Honda sensing. Now, this Elite one has the full suite, everything you could think of. And Honda's trying to put Honda sensing across all their lineup. Basically, every car in the future will have Honda sensing, which is a great thing. But with it, you get pretty much everything you can think of. Adaptive cruise control, lane keep assist, pre-braking, you know, basically auto brakes for you, blind spot monitoring. I mean, everything you can think of to try to help you stay safe on the roads you get in this Odyssey. All right, next, let me test out acceleration. Whoa. This Odyssey is actually very quick. Wow, that was a surprise. That was a surprise. This 10-speed definitely downshifts to the right gear. I mean, when I floored it, I definitely felt a jerk. And then it got up to about 40 really quick. And then 40 to 60, it took a bit longer. But overall, I think that's plenty of grunt, plenty of speed for this minivan. That's actually a real surprise. So now that I'm up to speed, about 45 miles per hour, in terms of quietness, wind noise, still very good. And actually, I don't hear any cars passing by. So sound insulation from a wind perspective, really good. Now road noise, I do hear more of. So the road noise, tad higher. Wind noise, still very, very good, very quiet. The brakes overall feel normal like all the other Hondas. They stop when you expect them to. Doesn't take a lot of pressure, but it doesn't catch on too early either. So brake feel, pretty good. Now in terms of steering, I really like the steering. It has a good heft to it, and take a look. Almost no play. So that means it's very direct. It has a nice feel to it, and I like the steering wheel. I think the only improvement is if the 10 and 2 spot was a little bit thicker. Outside of that, I like the overall feel. So I do like the steering wheel. It's steering and steering wheel, so it's a good surprise. I think Honda did a good job in here. In the cabin, I'm looking at the dash, the infotainment, this whole setup. I mean, at first, yeah, you do see a lot of buttons, but you know, they actually make sense. Everything is within reach, overall design. I like it. It has a modern look to it, so I think Honda did a really good job in here. As for trim levels, there are 5 trims to this brand new Odyssey, starting with the base, which is the LX, and it starts a little bit above $30,000, going up to the Elite, which is the one I'm testing today and reviewing, and that starts a little bit above $47,000. Now, with the LX, you get the basics. Of course, you do get that 280 horsepower engine with the standard 10-speed transmission, rear view camera, power front seats, and 18-inch alloy wheels. Now moving up to the EX, you get Honda Sensing, which is a suite of safety features that I talked about today, which includes automatic braking, lane keep assist, adaptive cruise control, and so forth. And you also get those cool Magic Slide second row seats, which slide sideways and of course forwards and backwards. And you do get smart entry and blind spot information system included in the EX. Now the EXL basically adds on the leather treatment. You get the same features but with leather. And also you do get a standard power tailgate in the EXL. And you can opt for navigation and rear entertainment system, which are optional, but you can't get those with the EX or LX. Now moving on to the Touring, this is where you get a whole lot. You get the hands-free power tailgate option. You get cabin watch, which allows you to watch the rear and be able to talk to them. You get Wi-Fi and that cool Honda vac, which is in the trunk. Now moving up to the Elite, you pretty much get it all. You get heated and ventilated seats, you get the wireless phone charger, premium audio system, rain sensing wipers, and 19-inch alloy wheels. So it really depends on what you're looking for. The one I'm testing today is a little bit under $50,000. Let's look at the good and bad to this brand new Odyssey. Starting with the good. The Odyssey has a modern exterior and interior design. There is a ton of space in all rows and the trunk. It is definitely faster than it looks. The Odyssey has a great infotainment system. There are a ton of cup holders and amenities everywhere. And the Odyssey provides great steering feel and a quiet ride. As for the bad, there are a few. Many of the amenities can only be found in upper trims. And the problem with that is upper trims can get pricey. There is no all-wheel drive or hybrid option that can be found in some of its competitors. It's hard to remove the second row seats. Lastly, the Odyssey does give you that soccer mom, soccer dad stigma, which all minivans give. Overall, I'm giving the Odyssey a score of 95, and if you want to see how this ranks among its peers or against other SUVs, then check out driversonlyrankings.com. Thanks for watching, guys. Make sure you hit the like and subscribe to the channel and check out some of these other videos.